Hi, Amber.
Hi.
Hi. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind just telling us quickly about yourself.
Sure. Well, my name is Amber Linnekin. I work for Heart for Orphans. We're here in Williamsburg, Virginia. I was in banking for 18 years, but decided to come over and join the ministry world in May of 2019.
So, do you have any kids?
I
Married?
do. I have a husband, Ryan, and I have three kids. Natalie is 21. She actually went on the first trip to Ukraine with me as a 13-year-old. So it's been a little while. And then I have Eli, who is 11, and Addie, who is 9.
Great. How'd you get involved with Heart for Orphans?
Well, you two were instrumental in that. When I went to Relevant Church years ago, Ryan and I decided to join the missions committee, not knowing a lot about missions. And you two were almost the only other ones on that committee. So you gave me an assignment to go out and talk with Nancy Hathaway at Heart for Orphans, and met with her. And I was like in tears as soon as she started talking to me about the organization. I knew I was passionate about it and wanted to learn more. Came back to the next missions meeting, shared my report, and you all had me on a flight to Ukraine, I don't know, within a couple of months.
Yeah, it was about 6 weeks or
Yes.
less.
So from there, went on the trip, and it really opened my eyes to the situation with orphans in Ukraine. Saw the hopelessness in the kids' faces, and I couldn't turn away. So I've been on a few trips since. My husband Ryan has been along with me a couple of times, and just been on the board and just stayed involved with events and all of that. So Nancy asked me to join a couple of years ago to be full-time staff. So it was a big decision, but I knew that was where God was leading me. And so far, it's been a good thing.
Terrific. Thank you. Can you tell us now about Heart for Orphans and its ministry?
Yes, absolutely. I have a PowerPoint to share, so I'm going to try and share my screen now. Let's hope it works.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! I need to get out though. Hold on. Here we go. Ta-da! Okay. So, Heart for Orphans, just to give you a little bit of the history, we are a ministry that's housed, of course, in Williamsburg, Virginia, where I'm at. We were started by Nancy and Steve Hathaway, who are still very involved. Nancy's the executive director. And they actually just kind of stumbled upon this vision years ago when God put it on their heart to adopt. They ended up in Ukraine, adopted their first daughter, Natalie. Spent a lot of time there, a lot of time in and out of the different orphanages. And as we know, God works. His plan wasn't done, so they ended up adopting 2 more girls within the period of a couple of years. So they have 3 daughters, all adopted from Ukraine. And that is how their vision really got started, because their hearts broke every time they went and came back. Their hearts just broke for the kids that were left behind. So they knew they wanted to do something. At first, of course, the first idea that everybody gets is to try and help with adoption. We want to bring all the kids back. But what they quickly realized was that there were quite a few organizations that were already working in adoption there. And that a lot of the kids, sadly, were just not adoptable. Less than 5% of the orphans in Ukraine are ever going to be adopted. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of red tape in Ukraine with the culture there. It's normal to take your kids and drop them off at the orphanage. A lot of the parents don't give up parental rights. They plan to come back and get the kids. As a matter of fact, they tell them that they'll be back to get them, but they are never able to do that. So meanwhile, these kids aren't adoptable. So just to explain a little bit of the problem, I'll tell you. So, and we're not only in Ukraine now, we have one home in Belarus and we have a home in Kenya. But for the presentation purposes, I'm going to talk about Ukraine today because that's where most of our homes are. We have 4 homes there and most of our outreach programs are in Ukraine. So in Ukraine, there's over 100,000 orphans living in the orphanages, and there's thousands more that are living on the streets. At the end of their 9th grade year of growing up in this institution, they are walked to the gate and they're not allowed to return. So this is where Nancy and Steve had this vision of the transition home, a place where these kids could go to get off of the street and see what it's like to be a part of a loving family, to have loving house parents where they could witness what a healthy marriage looks like, and to learn the life skills that they don't learn growing up in an institution. So I'm going to show you a quick video, if that's okay, Penny. It's like 4 minutes long. And I think this explains the problem a little bit. Is that good?
Still looking at PowerPoint. Oh, there we go.
Here we go.
Тяжелее. Да, когда ты ждешь родителей, они не идут. Хочется поддержки. Как бы больно это очень. Боялась, чтобы быть не самой. Просто быть брошенным не хочется. Чтобы были люди рядом.
Любов в сім'ї. Та я це не знаю. Я з сім'єю не жив в сім'ї, я це не знаю. В інтернеті нормально все чувствую. Заботяться обо мені. Я взагалі нічого не роблю. Просто прийшов, поучився, пішов, поїв, потім пішов, погуляв і ліг спати. Все. А потім, як вийшов училище, то я вже зрозумів, що треба на роботу йти і гроші заробляти сам. І прокармлюватися сам. І я таки думаю, як же самому жити?
В 1-2 классе я вообще хотела, чтобы у меня была мама. Я видела, как у детей других есть мама. И не хватало очень сильно родителей. Очень сильно не хватало. Хотела, чтобы была какая-то поддержка. Было страшно самой. Да, там сильно любви я не получала, чтобы, знаете, как в семье люди растут. Мама, папа приходят, а ты молодец, ты такая хорошенькая, ты там, да. Вот. Но у меня такого не было часто. У меня было это бывало, но редко. Но я хотела бы так, чтобы вот так вот дать детям то, что я не получала в своей жизни. Интернат — это мой родной дом. Я его очень люблю и ценю. Я всегда думаю, как я выйду отсюда. Мне страшно, если честно, выходить.
Мама меня сдала в детский дом и сказала, что я там побуду некоторое время, а потом за мной приедет папа. Но папу в то время посадили, и мама просто забыла про меня. И меня забрали в интернат.
Скажи, какая основная проблема у детей, которые живут без родителей?
Они думают, что они выйдут из интерната, и у них будет все получаться, все, что они будут крутыми. На самом деле они выходят из интерната и проходят несколько дней, и они приходят к директору, чтобы он их принял назад в интернат. Я мечтал поскорее вырасти, стать большим. Думал, что большим быть круто. А сейчас хочется вернуться в детство.
Тебе страшно быть взрослым?
Иногда да.
Почему?
Можно я не буду отвечать?
Тебе тяжело?
Да.
Я всегда цього хотіла, щоб взяли сім'ю, щоб я жила в сім'ї з мамою, папою.
Что семья дает человеку?
Наверное, любов, опіку. Коли ти знаєш, ти більше можеш дати чоловіку. Наприклад, я не хочу такої життя своїм дітям. Всі бояться таких дітей брати. правда, всі думають, що він буде дратися, вирувати. Ребенок, він ж не винуватий, що він став. Він починає дратися в інтернеті, бо він хоче себе захистити, хоче внимання собі уділити. Уділяти йому внимання, любові давати. І він не буде таким плохим, як всі вважають, що діти всі плохі. Я дуже большую семью хочу, то хочется детей, чтобы усыновить тоже.
А что бы ты хотела передать этим деткам?
Просто не опускать руки и всегда быть уверенным, что мир не без добрых людей.
So as you can see, it's heartbreaking. These kids are walked to the gate of the orphanage at the end of their 9th grade year. So they're maybe 15 or 16 years old. Emotionally and maturity wise, I've met these kids. They're comparable to an 8 or a 9-year-old. They haven't learned simple skills such as how to sweep a floor or how to cook a basic meal. They don't know how to make healthy decisions. As a matter of fact, they've never really made a choice on their own growing up in an institution. They don't get to choose how they wear their hair. They don't get to choose what they're going to wear. So they just come out really not equipped to live on the streets. And I've got the statistics pulled up for you. Within 2 years of leaving the orphanage, it's estimated that 30% will become addicted to drugs. 60% of the girls will turn to prostitution or be lured into sex trafficking. 70% of the boys will turn to crime. And that's just because it's really their only option. The paperwork for orphans shows, which is their ID that they carry with them, shows that they're an orphan. And in Ukraine, the word orphan doesn't pull at the heartstrings like it does in the States. In Ukraine, that word equates to someone who's going to be a troublemaker, to someone that's the bottom of the bottom, the least of the least. So they don't want to invite them into their businesses because they think they're going to steal and they're going to start trouble. So it's hard for them to find a decent job and they turn to crime. The saddest statistic, of course, is that 15% of these kids will end up committing suicide within 2 years of leaving the orphanage. And that's just out of sheer hopelessness. They don't have any other options and they feel just complete despair. So that is where Heart for Orphans comes in though. What we do at Heart for Orphans is provide Christ-centered transition homes where these kids can come in and be a part of a family for the first time. Like I mentioned earlier, they have house parents that are just totally dedicated to raising them as they would their own children. They are native to the country, so they know the culture. They've spent time going out and doing outreach to the local orphanages and to the trade schools. So they've built relationship with these kids and built that trust so that they will want to come into the homes. And they're invested. They're really invested in these kids. So for the first time, these kids are able to feel support of a family. So along with that too, we're providing mentorship, we're teaching them the life skills that they need to learn, and we're helping them deal with the trauma of their past. They're all traumatized to some degree, and our house parents are trained to deal with trauma care. So with that, we wouldn't be able to truly make a big difference, I don't believe, if we weren't introducing them to the Lord and they weren't finding that relationship with God. So they go to church with us on Sundays. They participate in worship nights throughout the week. It's up to them to really get invested and have that relationship with the Lord. But when it happens, it's amazing and wonderful, wonderful things happen. They really change from the inside out. So I wanted to include, and I know this is hard to see, but we have so many kids that have graduated our homes and are successful, have families, have good jobs. This is a snapshot of some of the kids that we have that are actually out doing ministry work. They were so touched by what we did for them that they then want to go out and help the less fortunate. They're out working with orphans and just the underprivileged in areas like Poland. Of course, they're in all over Ukraine. They're working in Kenya, they're in India, Nepal, Kyrgyzstan. So this is what really gets us excited, because the impact we feel is exponential. These kids are going out and they are touching the lives of hundreds of other kids once they graduate from our homes. So with that being said, I just wanted to let you know of a couple ways that your church could get involved. First, we are a praying team here at Heart for Orphans. We appreciate prayer. I would ask that you would join us in prayer for the kids in our homes to find relationship and give their lives to the Lord. We're always praying for more kids to choose to come into our homes because it's their choice. We don't force them to come in, we don't force them to stay. So we just pray that these kids will continue to trust and come into our homes to live with us. Pray for the children living in the orphanages. Some orphanages are run better than others, but just please pray for their safety and for their hearts. Teens living in the streets, pray for them. The house parents, their jobs are so difficult. These house parents need prayer. They are selfless people. They are truly gifted, and they just give so much to these kids. So please pray for them. The families living in our homes, these house parents also have their own biological children, which is a wonderful thing that these kids have grown up and are able to, see their parents bringing in orphans and living with them and being a part of the ministry. But it's also hard on them. So pray for the mental, physical, and spiritual health of all of the families in these homes, including the biological kids. And then our life skills and trauma care training programs. Training is just so important. We've found over the years that it's really crucial that we are there to support our house parents in every way that we can. And we've got to be able to provide them with the tools that they need to teach these kids the life skills they need and to also help them deal with the trauma of their past. So our house parents are trained. We have formal training once a year where they all come together and have trauma care training. And then we're on the phone with them. Our trainer is once a week to just talk through different issues with the kids in their homes, because there's so many. As you know, we have problems with our own kids, but if you can imagine bringing in these kids that have so much trauma and so many different issues and being able to find ways to deal with them. So that training is just crucial. Also, we have a vision trip, God willing, coming up in October. So if anyone would be interested in coming, please reach out. I know Penny and Jeff, you have my contact information, should have handouts there for everyone. Reach out to me, ask questions. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to give you ideas on how to raise support. We're also hoping to have Penny come with us this year if her schedule allows. So pray about that. And if she is able to go, I just pray that you will support her and pray for her that she's able to make that trip. Also, in the pamphlets that I've left with you guys, there is information on how you can contribute financially if that's on your heart to give. So with that, that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Amber. We really appreciate it. I just want to ask a quick question. How, besides the vision trips, how is Heart for Orphans and these orphanages, transition homes funded?
Good question. It's all through the support of individual donors and through the churches. We have a few grants, but very small. So it's mainly through our individual donors.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate your zeal for this ministry, Amber, and our prayers, the blessing for both you and Ryan and the kids as you continue to serve the Lord in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for your support.